Welcome to this live video stream from the Cilip Agm. The event will start at 5:30. Thank you for your patience. Welcome to this live video stream from the Cilip Agm. The event will start at 5:30. Thank you for your patience. Welcome to this live video stream from the Cilip Agm. The event will start at 5:30. Thank you for your patience. Welcome to this live video stream from the Cilip AGM. The event will start at 5:30. Thank you for your patience. Welcome to this live video stream from the Cilip AGM. The event will start at 5:30. Thank you for your patience. Welcome to this live video stream from the Cilip AGM. The event will start at 5:30. Thank you for your patience. Welcome to this live video stream from the Cilip AGM. The event will start at 5:30. Thank you for your patience. Welcome to this live video stream brought to you by the Chartered Institute of Library and Information Professionals. The Cilip Annual General Meeting will begin shortly with a welcome and a review of the year. This will be followed by the presentation of Honorary Fellowships and Libraries Change Lives Awards. At 6:30, the business agenda will commence. The full agenda and supporting documentation can be found on the Cilip website. The live stream will end at 7:30 this evening. Please note that viewers of this live stream will not be able to vote on any resolutions this evening. Proxy voting closed on Tuesday the 22nd of September. We would appreciate your patience during the voting phases of this event. We will be tweeting from this event using the @CilipInfo Twitter account. Please use the hashtag CilipAGM15 if you would like to join the online conversation on any of the issues discussed this evening. We will now go live to the Cilip AGM in London.
Okay, welcome everybody, and good evening, and thank you very much for joining us here this evening for tonight's chance downstairs to meet and mingle and have a drink in the Ewart room, and thank you very much for coming up here and joining us. Sorry for the slight delay, we just had to wait for the World Wide Web to join us, but I understand we're now live and streaming this evening's event. So I'm Nick Poole. I joined in June as the Chief Executive of Cilip, and I have to say it's an enormous pleasure to be able to welcome you here for tonight's AGM and event. It's been fantastic to meet many of you in the room since I joined, and I'm really looking forward to meeting you hopefully tonight, but also in the months to come as I travel around the UK about our plans for the future as part of an initiative called Shape the Future, which I'll speak about in a moment. It's been an incredibly active year since we last saw you at the AGM, and I've been given a list of highlights to make sure that I don't offend anybody, so they've all been proved and vetted to make sure that I'm covering absolutely everything. So to celebrate some successful conferences, which I hope many of you will have had a chance to attend across England, Scotland, Wales, and indeed Northern Ireland. To note the development of the VLE, the PKSB, the Professional Knowledge and Skills Base, and the hugely popular Impact Toolkit, which I hope many of you will have had a chance to have a look at and make use of in your work. We've been very active in terms of policy and intervention. We submitted our representation to the 2015 spending review on behalf of the knowledge professions just a couple of weeks ago. We've been active, as many of you will be aware, in copyright policy, in looking at related policies around higher education and indeed in schools. We've been successful in generating national media coverage. We've appeared in the media and in the press. I had the immense honour of appearing on BBC Breakfast to talk about a subject I knew little about on the 5th day of this job. Thank you so much to everyone for your kind Twitter comments on that performance. We've seen a really significant increase in the number of people undertaking professional registration, a 77% increase for chartership, and indeed we've seen increases for revalidation. We've gone from 12 in 2013 to 167 in 2014, and already halfway through the year in 2015 we were standing at 300. So that's just wonderful to see people embracing that model. We've also commissioned the first UK-wide mapping of the library information and knowledge management workforce, and we saw the first sort of robust data coming out of that project just earlier in the middle of last week, in fact, and really starting to unpick the structure, the nature of this workforce and the opportunities that present for us. We do, however, have an immense amount to do. We know that the world around us is changing, and pressures on you and your work are changing. And so it's incredibly important, looking ahead over the next 4 years, that we constantly review and refresh and change our offer to keep pace with the changes that are going on all around us. I think it's vital that we speak with one voice and that we raise that voice to promote the value of what you do, the value of the library, information and knowledge professionals that make up this fantastic community. I think we need to start to plan for growth. We need to be more visible, more proactive. We need to be seen across this community as an organisation that takes action, takes a stand, understands our voice and uses it to promote the benefit of the work that you do. I think we also have to invest in all of our professional futures. I was involved in Cilip Count through the Defining Our Professional Future process, and we learned a tremendous amount about how this job is changing. We have to make sure that we're investing in promoting CPD and developing the workforce, that Cilip has a compelling and affordable membership offer that delivers value across what is a tremendously broad and active community. And so to lead those developments, we're launching tomorrow morning a consultation exercise called Shape the Future, which will take place between now and Christmas, which involves conversations up and down the country on social media, on a variety of platforms, which really is supposed to define how we're going to take those steps with one voice, with clarity, with a clear strategy and with confidence into what promises to be a very, very exciting future for our community. So thank you so much for your attention. I'm sure by now you're listening to me. So it's a great pleasure to welcome to the floor Jan Parry, our president, who's going to lead us into the next stage of the event. Jan.
Well, hello everyone. Welcome to people who I already know and to new people who I will hopefully meet. So the Cilip Libraries Change Lives Award highlights the expertise of library staff who develop high-quality, innovative services which transform lives in the community. Previous winners include Bookstore, Million Babies and Their Parents across the UK, and HMP Edinburgh Library Partnership, which has tackled social inclusion and provided opportunities for a better transition from prison to life in the community. Tonight, we celebrate the 3 finalists, and I'm pleased that staff from all 3 of the projects have been able to join us. All 3 projects richly deserve recognition for the outstanding, life-changing work that they do. And we'll highlight one project in particular, our winner, who will receive a trophy, pounds, to invest in their initiative, not to go out and spend by themselves. Before we announce the winner, we have 3 pieces of film to show you about the finalists to explain how they've changed lives for the better. I'm going to tell you about the first one now. Digital technology provides significant opportunities to improve literacy and support learning. At the same time, Pew research shows that 1 in 3 parents have concerns or questions about their child's use of technology. North Ayrshire Information and Culture's Happiness project provides a programme of digital learning and educational apps for young children and their parents or carers. Preschool children have fun, yay, while using technology to kickstart their learning, and the parents take part in their learning e-safety. Early intervention, tackling problems relating to poverty, personal attainment, health and employment in the region. So let's have a look at the film and learn more.
Happiness develops digital skills in young children and their families using fun, interactive and educational apps. Many parents have come into the sessions with negative perceptions of using technology with their children. This changed once they've experienced the positive impact that technology can have on their child's learning.
This is amazing. I can read all my favourite books from Earth on here.
Projects enabled us to build really strong links with our early years centres and parents groups in schools, which has enabled us to work with a cross-section of the community, many of the parents who would not normally come into the library by themselves. We would like in the future to staff so that they can deliver the project within their own centres.
It's been fabulous for many reasons. I've got 10 children who are now very much more confident, very much more able in a whole variety of aspects of the curriculum. The main one being their own self-confidence. They've blossomed in the project. They have created an advert, a video, a DVD, which will be utilised across the authority and beyond.
The library is a great place to find books and CDs to learn new skills, like a new language, for example.
I thought the library was only about books. No, the library has lots of cool stuff, like homework clubs, DVDs and CDs you can borrow.
The whole concept of creating an animated film advertising the library is fab. So those skills in creation of animation, music, soundtrack, scripting, the actual production of it has been fabulous. I've now got a team of digital leaders in my school who can easily transfer their skills across the curriculum. They can easily transfer those skills to other groups within the school, including the staff.
Lisa's really enjoyed exploring all the different apps, and it's also helped me, and I've found out different IT skills, and I also have control over what apps she uses and how long she's on it for.
I was with the happiness programme through the school, which I found very interesting. They had apps on it, we could do numbers, letters, and you could follow your finger around and it would learn how to do your numbers.
I learned a lot from it, as there was a parent control side of it, but I didn't know where you control what games to download, what things, but they're not allowed to go onto. You can control all that. We've seen loads of games for their ages, which is really good, as I'm a childminder, and apps suitable for their ages, as I've got different age groups, and Jaden really enjoyed the course.
Thanks for your help, Earthlings. The library is part of the future. Wait until I tell my home planet about this.
Doesn't that make you feel good? Okay, now I'd like to introduce Kath Owen, who is the chair of the Professional Registration and Accreditation Board.
Cilip's professional registration programme supports members with opportunities and tools to prove their right to be recognised as a Cilip professional. It is an important indicator of commitment, achievement, high standards and confident practice. Submission is through the Cilip virtual learning environment in an online format. Alongside this, use of the Professional Knowledge and Skills Base, PKSB, continues to grow as people recognise the value of measuring themselves or their employees against CPD needs and recognise existing skills. I would like to thank my colleagues on the Professional Registration and Accreditation Board for their continued enthusiasm and dedication in the assessment of the 604 applications that we have looked at in the past year. This included successful applications for 54 people at certification level, 187 chartered members, 9 fellows and 352 revalidation candidates. All these successes are far greater than the equivalent for last year, and it is particularly gratifying, and Nick mentioned this as well, to see the number of people taking advantage of the opportunity to revalidate. These are some of the people who've been successful in the last 12 months. Many congratulations to all of them. An important part of that process is the role of the mentor, and it's a great privilege for me to be able to talk a little bit this evening about the Mentor of the Year Award, which was introduced in 2012. It looks to celebrate the great work done by some of the unsung heroes of the library information profession. The Cilip Mentor of the Year occasion of Cilip members who give their time and knowledge to help others to develop and grow. Candidates for all 3 levels of professional registration are required to have a mentor, and many people are part of the dedicated and enthusiastic mentor network. Having a mentor gives each candidate a rare opportunity to seek someone else's views in a focused way, to benefit from the experience of a colleague from a different background or sector, and to get an independent view of their own work. This is a valuable part of the process from which both mentor and mentee can benefit. This year's winner is Sally Ernie. Her mentee said, "Chartership and I have had a rocky relationship. Sally has been incredibly supportive. She gave me the confidence to get on and actually do the work without just worrying about it. I always look forward to our meetings, and I saw submitting and obtaining charter status as the best possible way to repay Sally's investment in time and faith in me." Would Sally like to come forward, please?
Now I'm going to introduce our second video, which will be followed by the presentation to the Honorary Fellows. Almost 2 million people in the UK are living with sight loss. That's approximately 1 person in 30. By 2050, oh good grief, the RNIB predicts the number of people with sight loss in the UK will double to nearly 4 million. Portsmouth City Council's library services for the vision impaired, oh I live near Portsmouth, helps the visually impaired community increase their being. Services include a helpline, a dedicated information offering translation services into alternative formats, a braille service, and assistive technologies, and group events including a book club and regular events. Thousands have engaged with the service in the past year, as visually impaired citizens suffer disproportionately due to the reductions in equality roles within the authorities and support services arising from national austerity. Let's watch the film.
The service that's in the South Sea Library is very much about an information offer. It's about allowing them to exchange books. It's about getting that offer for the reading group. It's about empowerment of people with vision impairment services. It is about practical solutions to get people moving and getting on with their lives in a positive way.
The clients very often say they value the groups because they can talk to other people and they don't feel different. They help people losing their sight to know what products and services are available, also to get emotional support because people are very distressed often when they're losing their sight. So there's quite an element of support there, but it's not only for the people who are losing their sight. Quite often family and friends want help as well.
When it's a thing like your sight, there's so many aspects of it that come into it that you don't even think about. And I found that you do get a lot of help. There's lots of fun things to do, and the people work so hard to make you welcome and really to understand just what it's like.
It's helped me a lot because I live on my own and it's quite boring at times. We go bowling and we do archery up at the forts, and we go for Skittles nights, a quiz night. I've had a lot of stuff that helps visually impaired people, like talking scales, electric thermometers, clocks.
We have excellent contacts into the community to make sure that the people that need this supportive technology can get hold of it. It's wonderful that they can be to act independently and for us to be able to support them to get the technologies that they need.
Things like the new download services that we're going to get, that is going to make a great difference for people. With the coming of MP3 formats, that's made such a difference for books to be put onto audio, onto memory sticks and be able to be carried around. They can have a book group in the traditional way, whereas before we had to do a book group where everybody read a different book because of the expense of these CDs. Now we can have everybody reading the same book. The other part of the job is a braille service that the library provides. We transcribe documents for people who have bought new washing machines or a new mic and they want the instructions put into braille, but also with the new legislation about having things in alternative formats, we can do quite a lot of work for the different councils round about Portsmouth. Mostly I've made them feel a bit more comfortable with their losing their sight and helping them to realise that it's not the end of their life.
It's undoubtedly going from strength to strength. IT will continue to be an important part. Reading undoubtedly is important to all of them. And most important is our ability to be able to facilitate a group and for them to be able to come together to set their own agendas.
I used to work for David Blunkett and he would have loved anything like that. So anyway, to get on, it's now the presentation of the Honorary Fellowships and I'd like to bring back Kath. Thanks.
Every year, Cilip awards a small number of honorary fellowships to people for outstanding contributions to the library and information world. The key criteria for the award are that the nominee should fulfil at least one, but preferably all, of the following: that their work or activity has raised the profile of the information profession in some way, that their work or activity has had a significant and positive impact on the profession, that they have made a difference to the world of libraries, information and knowledge through their work or activities. Nominations are invited from Cilip members and are assessed by a small panel which consists of the President, the Chief Executive and the Chair of the Board, the Professional Registration Board. This year, 6 people have been approved by Council for this prestigious award. Tracy Ainsley is recognised for her commitment to promoting her professional network in the North East and supporting international collaboration in the library and information community. Tracy's activity has included organising numerous fundraising activities, raise money in support of CDG's international projects. Her fundraising has also contributed to local libraries, such as Newcastle's Lit and Fill development project. Her enthusiasm helped to rejuvenate North East Career Development Group, which led to a very Her energy and enthusiasm for professional development is not just limited to encouraging colleagues to become more active with professional organisations. It is also evident in the way that she encourages others to make the most of opportunities within an institution. Would Tracy like to come forward, please? Ian Anstis. Ian has been nominated in recognition of his work in raising the profile of public libraries and campaigning on their behalf through Public Library News. Ian has worked in public libraries for over 20 years, yet his enthusiasm and innovative attitude has only grown over time. His website, Public Library News, has acted as a beacon for public libraries in the turbulent recent years of recession. His sophisticated site reports on matters relating to public libraries, providing a valuable source of up-to-date information. He single-handedly keeps the site going with daily updates of news from a wide range of sources. In 2011, Ian was named as Information World Review Information Professional of the Year. He has also twice won the Winsford Customer Service Oscar. The editor of IWR, Peter Williams, said, "Ian's work is a stirring story of how much can be achieved and how knowledge and information really is power." Ian was also part of the Voices for Libraries team advocating for public libraries and library staff. Ian, would you like to come forward?
Thank you very much.
Linda Constable. Linda has demonstrated a long-term commitment to raising the profile of the social role of libraries in changing people's lives. Her career in libraries includes working for Bournemouth University Library, Dorset Library Service, Bournemouth Library Service, and finally for Dorset again, where she's overseen the development of new services and led on the development of the Library and Learning Centre. In addition, she worked for a short period as a freelance consultant, her work including creating Cilip's advocacy toolkit and also producing a report for Bournemouth University on the information needs of their research community. To many people, probably synonymous with Cilip Libraries Change Lives Award. She was involved in and then chaired the judges panel for some 10 years until 2014 and was responsible for the increasing recognition throughout the library world of the important contribution that libraries can make, particularly without necessarily having to use vast resources. She's been an active member and advocate of the Community Diversity and Equality Group of Cilip and has had a significant impact on the wider sector. Linda, would you like to come forward?
Thank you.
Andrew Green. Andrew is a well-known and influential figure in the international library community for his work as the librarian and chief executive of the National Library of Wales and his career-long commitment to promoting the interests of the library profession. He's been involved in the leadership and governance of numerous sector and professional bodies, including serving as chair of SCONL and as a member of the Legal Deposit Advisory Panel and the Welsh Government Libraries Advisory Panel. In 2013, a Fellow of the Learned Society of Wales. He's also a member of the Council of the Royal Institution of South Wales, and in 2014 was elected chair of the Association of Friends of the Glyn Vivian Art Gallery in Swansea, where he lives. He's a member of the panel of Speakers for Schools, a charity established by Robert Peston to encourage students in state schools to develop high aspirations, and of the management board of the periodical New Welsh Review. Andrew, would you like to?
Diolch yn fawr iawn.
Gillian Harris. Widely recognised both for her contribution to the international library community and her campaigning on behalf of school libraries. She joined the international group of the Library Association, the predecessor of the International Library Information Group, as a committee member in 1992. In international librarianship began with a job exchange with a children's librarian in Vermont, USA in the early 1980s, and 2 years as a VSO volunteer librarian with the National Library Service in the Gambia in the late 1980s. As a committee member, she played a role in championing Cilip's Anthony Thompson Award by assessing and selecting candidates, and also coordinating their visit programme with UK library and information centres. Jill has been an active advocate and campaigner for school libraries. She is immediate past chair and spokesperson of the Association of Senior Children's and Education Librarians, taking a lead on the 2012 Shout About School Libraries campaign, and continues to campaign in support of giving school libraries access to professionally qualified staff as a statutory requirement. Jill. Jane Secker. Jane is recognised for her work in promoting information literacy through research, teaching and collaboration throughout her professional career. She is chair of the Cilip Information Literacy Group and copyright and digital literacy advisor at the London School of Economics and Political Science. Jane was editor-in-chief of the Open Access Biannual Journal of Information Literacy from 2012 to 2015. Of 5 issues. She has published extensively, is an active blogger, and regularly disseminates her work through presentations at conferences within and out with the sector. Significant and respected work that Jane has contributed to information literacy was recognised by her being awarded the Information Literacy Award in 2014. She was recently appointed chair of the Cilip Information Literacy Group and is already fostering many contacts beyond the profession. Jane.
Helping me out on that. I felt a bit like the Queen, all that shaking of hands and stuff. Only a small bit like the Queen. So now we go on to our next piece of film. St Helens, and I couldn't believe this when I read it, but St Helens is one of the most deprived boroughs in the UK. And the Library Service has struck several partnerships to improve mental and physical health and tackling social care problems in the town. St Helens Library Service's cultural hubs creatively use the arts to improve skills, support neighbourhood development, increase community cohesion and improve health and well-being. Users of the service are typically those accessing adult social care and health services or at risk of needing these services, and the film will explain more.
My role really is around animating the 13 libraries that we have in St Helens with activity that you might not necessarily associate with libraries. We have performances in our spaces, we have transformative arts projects where we engage people and get them taking part in arts activity that improves their mental health or their physical health. And we also have exhibitions, events, performances. Pieces that we tend to programme are aimed at people that might be accessing adult social care and health services or at risk of needing to access adult social care and health services.
I feel that Cultural Hubs has connected arts and libraries in St Helens in the most wonderful way. It's allowed my staff to see the art of the possible. It's taught them what might be possible for them to do in library spaces, really innovative and creative things, and it's spilled over into their own work in terms of the things that they do, which are normal library events and activities, made them be much more creative.
It's given me a lot of opportunities that I don't think I necessarily would have had working for any other service, and that's been because of the collaboration between the arts service and the library service and the way the staff have worked so well together.
I am involved in the Arts Award. I love that aspect of my job. It's where I can go getting them to engage in the arts, to grow their enthusiasm through the arts, to realise what's on offer through St Helens, and it links perfectly with Cultural Hub's programme.
The advantages of having arts activities in library spaces is that it attracts an audience that perhaps would not otherwise come through a library door. Once we've got them through, then interest them in some of the other programmes.
The thing about the library being a place of safety for those sorts of cultural activities means that people can come along here and find out things. I had a long-standing alcohol problem I didn't see a point to live in. I've taken advantage of pretty well a wide range of the things that have gone on here. Did a storytelling course which I really enjoyed, and I've also taken part in some of the drama.
I feel that being involved with the Stand Up to Stigma project in St Helens Libraries has helped to heal and improve my life, because one of my agoraphobia, or an aspect of agoraphobia. So until that time, when I was guided towards the library and to the Stand Up to Stigma group, I was very reluctant to go anywhere. To meet these people, feel quite awed by everything that they had suffered. Since then, other things have happened as a result of it. Mostly, on my part, the freedom that I'm experiencing now to go beyond the confines of my living room. The next thing on my agenda is I'm actually writing a play because of the mental health, because of Stand Up to Stigma, because of the libraries, because of all of this, that I'm in a position that I was awakened, and I'm using everything that I watched unfold.
One of the key things that we're trying to do moving forward is to embed the programme, embed cultural hubs, embed all of the activity that we're doing within the current staffing structure of libraries, rather than it just being the arts. So that moving forward, when that money from the Arts Council is no longer there in 2017, we are able to ensure there is a legacy.
Part of the remit of the project is to put out best practice to encourage other people to follow our example. St Helens is not just doing something locally, it's also contributing to the national agenda around arts in libraries.
I think my real active recovery started the day I came to the library.
Some ideas in there for me and my Liverpool task group that I'm chairing, I think. Anyway, let's introduce now. I'd like to welcome you to the chair of the judges, John Vincent. John was awarded Honorary Fellowship of Cilip last year in recognition of his lifetime commitment to diversity and inclusion. And just in case I've forgotten, I was awarded it the year before as well. John.
Thank you very much. I hadn't realised it was a competition. I've only got 4 minutes, so I'm going to be very, very brief. This is what libraries are about. I think this kind of work that we're seeing tonight and hearing about, and we're going to talk about later, really shows what libraries can contribute in, as we said, and tumultuous times. And I think it's a true recognition of the role that all kinds of libraries can play, and I'm really pleased and thrilled to be part of this evening. That's the only speechy bit I'm going to do. What I really wanted to do is to thank people, and I've got quite a long list, so it sounds like all the you ever go to. But I wanted to make sure that we did thank the people who've contributed to the award and the award ceremony. So I wanted to thank Cilip for continuing to support the award, and especially Mark Taylor and Kat Cooper, who sadly can't be here tonight. Well, it's not sad for us, not for her, she's on holiday. For all their support during the year and through the whole process of judging and getting to tonight in terms of making the award. I wanted to also thank my 2 previous chairs of judges, who who you've already met, and Philip Walk, who some of you met last year, and he was awarded an honorary fellowship too, for keeping the awards going, again through some good times and some lean times, but something where the awards are still there and are still recognised. I wanted to thank the Community, Diversity and Equality Group, again for continuing to support the awards over the years. I wanted to thank all the entrants, all the people who took the time and trouble to put together applications for the award. And what I is ask all of you to go away from tonight and encourage even more people to put in applications next year. We still need the award to grow, and it would be terrific if we got back to huge numbers of applications. It would be great to see. I'd like to thank, but I'm not going to say any more than that, the 3 finalists, and we'll get a chance to thank them properly in a moment. I want to particularly thank my co-judges. We spent a wonderful but chaotic week together, travelling the country and visiting the 3 library services. We crammed it into 3 days. So I'd like to thank Dave Percival, who's the chair of the CDEG committee, and Carl Dorney, representing Northamptonshire, who were last year's winners. Can I ask you if you just thank both? And I'm now going to hand you back to Jan.
It's like the Oscars. Got the golden envelope. Okay. I'm going to do it really slowly, build up the tension. Okay. The winner of the 2015 Cilip Libraries Change Lives Award is, and forgive me if I sound like Cilla Black, it's Happiness from North Ayrshire Libraries and Culture Services.
Thank you. We're thrilled to win this award, and we're delighted that the project is recognised at a national level. It validates all the hard work that the team's put into the project. Before I pass you over to Mary, we would just like to congratulate the other finalists on your projects. Thank you.
I'm just going to give you a very quick update on where we're going to go forward with Happiness and our digital participation. The clips that you saw, the animated clips that you saw, are from a promotional film that our digital champions at St Bridget's Primary School created, and we're just about to gift a copy of the film to every Primary 1 pupil in North Ayrshire, and we're just about to work with another primary school creating further marketing materials using iMovie and Comic Life to encourage as many children as possible in North Ayrshire to become active library members. That's part of a national Every Child a Library Member campaign. The Happiness project continues to be developed and delivered in North Ayrshire through parents groups. Going forward, we'd like to create our own apps to cover specific areas of the Curriculum for Excellence, which is the Scottish curriculum, and also to train our colleagues in education embedded in the practice of all our early year centres and schools. This will encourage all families to be supported in the use of mobile technology to help develop their child's learning, and also to share the project with any other authorities that may be interested. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'd now like to invite the other 2 finalists to come and receive their certificates. Could I ask Portsmouth to come up first, please? Thank you. Vince?
Thank you, John. Thank you very much. I wish I could give you all an award. It would be so much nicer, wouldn't it? So that's the end of our awards. If we could just have one last round of applause for all the people who were nominated and all the winners and yourselves. Why not? And now I'm going to hand you over to the chair of the board, Martin Wade, for the AGM.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the 2015 AGM. It's terrific to see so many people here this evening for the meeting. Wasn't that inspirational? I just echo John, that's what libraries are all about.
Talking about me?
Nearly, Jan. But now we move to the formal part of this evening, the AGM. And I'm delighted to welcome you to this business part of the 13th AGM of Cilip. With me is Nick Poole again, Chief Executive, and Mark Hosking, who is our Honorary Treasurer. Before starting the formal part of the meeting, just wanted to and communications issues to take you through. The Twitter hashtag #CilipAGM15 can be used to keep track of the conversation, although please note that members are not able to vote or formally interact with the AGM through social media, simply because we need to make sure that only members vote, and this is currently not possible to do through social media. Before the meeting can make any decisions, we need to establish whether we have a quorum, which is 50 individual members present in person. Jill, and we do have more than 50, so we are quorate and can proceed. We've got a number of important issues on the agenda today, and I know that members who have taken a lot of trouble to attend will have views and questions. We do have limited time. And so I think to be fair to everybody, intending to limit the amount of comments and questions we can take to 3 minutes per person. And again, to be fair to everybody, no individual should make more than one intervention from the floor during the course of each agenda item. In addition, just to let you know, we've got 8 who've already made their decisions on how to vote by proxy. Just to talk a minute about the voting. First of all, can I confirm that all Cilip members do have a white voting card? Let's wave it in the air. It's like a fond farewell. As just confirm, there isn't anybody who is short of a card? One. Can you, we have a spare one here. Thank you. The proxy votes that we received, as I say, there were 85 that were received by the deadline of Tuesday 22nd of September, have been counted and allocated to the relevant proxies. All votes today will be by a show of hands. Every member in person has one vote, and every proxy who has been duly appointed by a member in the has one vote for each member who's nominated him or her. If you've been nominated as a proxy, you're being given a red voting card for each person who has nominated you, and how they've instructed you to vote on each resolution is printed on that card. So hopefully that's clear for the proxies who are here. So moving on to the formal business of the meeting, first of all, the minutes of the 2014 Annual General Meeting. Before we vote on that, can I just ask whether it's record of the meeting or whether there are any corrections?
Point of information, is it practice to note apologies for absence, because I sent an email to Jim Colbert saying I couldn't attend it. Is there a policy about noting apologies for absence?
Right, Jill?
We don't note them on the minutes usually because we get so many. But yes, I do know that we did note it internally.
Yeah, okay. Any other points? Right, sorry, that was a question about whether we noted apologies on the minutes, because the gentleman sent apologies in. Jill's response was they're noted internally, but because we receive a substantial number, they're not included on the minutes. Okay. Are there any other points? Okay. In that case, I'd like to formally move that the minutes of the meeting held on the 20th September 2014 are approved as a correct record. Would somebody like to second the David McMenemy? Yeah. Seconds. So can those in favour please raise your hands? Sorry? You are remember.
Remember to fabricate a card.
I presume you're allowed to vote. Oh, Jill.
Just get some script.
Mm-hmm. Okay. It's not a problem. The script said I was welcoming people to. Okay. So the numbers, Matt. Are there any votes against? No. Are there any abstentions? Just wait for the maths. Thank you. The total votes cast are for 129, against 0, with 11 abstentions. So the motion is passed. Thank you. Can I ask, are there any matters arising from the minute today? There's a hand at the back. Do we have a microphone? Could you give your name, please?
Alice Tyler. Just question about item 11 of the minutes, any other business. It was confirmed that the new wording in the constitutional documents would be published on the website. Can we know when that job will be completed? Because there are a number of documents affected by the changes, and those don't seem to be on the website yet.
Right. They are. Sorry, hello Alice, it's Nick here. As far as I understand, they are and they have been published. So if there's a disagreement about the versions that are currently available, would you mind writing to me and letting me know what the discrepancy is, and then I can follow it up. But thank you.
Okay, thank you, Alice. Is there anybody else with any matters arising? Okay, thanks. Moving on to the report on the election 2015. Well, actually, there isn't a report. There was no election required, and therefore there's no formal report to present. Gary Birkenhead and Mike Hosking were elected unopposed. We have subsequently advertised for trustee in line with the bylaws and general regulations. You may recall seeing the adverts in update. The vacancies on the we advertised the vacancies on the board, and we have appointed Naomi Corn and John Trevor Allen in July, and they attended their first meeting today. We now move on to the appointment of auditors, which is resolution 2, and we are intending to propose that Hayes McIntyre be appointed. Is there any points of discussion or question that anybody would like to raise before we formally move the motion? No. In that case, I'd like to formally propose that Hayes McIntyre be appointed as auditors of Cilip until the conclusion of the next AGM. Have a seconder for the resolution, Karen. And again, we need to vote on this. So again, could I ask all those in favour, please raise your hands. You have different coloured slips according to how many votes you have. It's not a trade union game, is it? Or a trade march. Okay. Okay. Thank you. Those against? That's no one. Any abstentions? No. Thanks. The results, including the proxies, are for 141, against 0, with 2 abstentions. So I declare the resolution carried. We now turn to the Trustees Report and Annual Accounts for 2014, and I'm going to ask Cilip's Honorary Treasurer Mike Hosking to present them. Mike.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody, and here I am again for the second year. What I've set out on the first slide are the areas I want to cover. So I clearly want to report on the 2014, and that's almost history now, our financial report, highlight our current stable financial position, but also I need to look at some of the things that are beginning to impact on that, and look also at some of the future financial challenges. So I want to look at that, and then later we will move on to looking at proposals for subscriptions, etc. So, in terms of our existing finances, in 2014 we had a significant operational surplus, 168,000. But I've caveated by saying that this year we actually expect a very modest surplus. Current figures, and okay, we're only in September, so there's a while to go, but it's going to be under £1,000. So finances are very, very tight in this current year. And this is one of the difficulties, in that I'm reporting here on the 2014 financial report. Clearly we're most of the way through 2015, and later we'll be looking at the finances for next year. So we're dealing with 3 years at the moment. Also, you note that although there was stability, our investments, that's the reserves that we take, which are roughly in the, fell by just over £2,000. And that was mainly due to the impact of Greek government crisis, China, and other turmoil in the markets. But nevertheless, our reserves did go up slightly, and they continue to put us in a very strong, healthy position. We've got roughly 5 months of operating reserves. Our reserves policy said we should have between 3 and 6 months. So we're towards the upper end of that policy, and therefore good. And actually also, accolades to members, they also made a surplus during the year, as well as increasing their amount of activity and the amount they did. But looking at major variances that are upon us and that are happening, Facet, our publishing arm, has been a real star. You'll see there the net surpluses that have been made in 2013, 2014. But unfortunately this year, and as many colleagues out there will appreciate, publishing is cyclical depending on authors delivering books on time, etc. There aren't quite so many publications this year, so we're not expecting that level of surplus. Yes, a healthy surplus, and hopefully with those books coming through, go beyond that, a further healthy surplus. But this year, 2015, it will be less. Thanks to the great work of the team here on the ground and for this building, we've actually increased our rental income during 2014 by 36,000. So all in all, rent for the other portions of this building that we don't utilise brings in over £1,000 in a year. And we're continuing to work at that, etc. But nevertheless, on the negative side of that, as colleagues again will know, because it's been reported for many years now, like most pension schemes, are closed, a defined benefits pension scheme, remains in deficit. And we are committed to contribute to that each year. And so that in 2014 was £300,000. This year it will be £329,000, and our contribution will be linked to RPI. Escalate. It offsets the income from rents, but nevertheless, these are really significant major variances. The other thing that's happening, and again, colleagues will appreciate this, is we've had a significant drop in update advertising revenue, hard copy advertising. And this is a market trend. It's not just us, it's happening to other magazines, etc. And that is a trend that's continuing this year. And we will have to look at that. As I said, we're looking at 3 years here, reporting on 14, in 15, and looking ahead to 2016. And in 2016, we've got, and Nick in his introduction trailered the new strategic review and the need to plan for growth. And what we hope is we enter a new era with a new board, new chief executive, a new plan. and the need to invest in that. And clearly, as we will discuss later, member expectations for greater action and increased activity by Cilip. We've also got, in terms of future funding, we've also got, particularly here in central London, growing inflation. It's over 3% on our costs this year. 2017, we will need to extend our other pension scheme to those staff that currently have not decided to join, because auto-enrolment will kick in. And as I've already said once, we will, I believe, need to review how update is produced and how update is distributed. And we'll have to have a dialogue at when we previously floated going over to online only, members were quite clear they wanted to continue hard copy. We have to look at that. It's actually, ironically, it's not that, I mean, we'll be getting the figures for our next resources committee. I actually believe it's the production cost of the problem, it's the postage. Actually posting it to everybody is the real issue. So we'll have to have that, and we will, and I promise this, we will have to have a dialogue with members on how we take that forward in future. What we'll also continue to do, and I benefited from an interesting tour of the building yesterday, is look at the review of the utilisation of the building and look at how we perhaps can maximise more income from it. We must, in that look at the Ewart room. Member benefit, and we absolutely promise that member facilities will be retained within the building. But whether it's the Ewart room or whether it's something else, we really do need to look at, it's a significant space and its utilisation is unfortunately very low indeed. A couple of background issues, and first of all, thank you for appointing Hayes McIntyre as our new auditors. Kingston Smith had been Cilip's auditors for 12 years? For 12 years, and in terms of reviewing everything, we felt it was appropriate to go out to the market and look at what a new auditor could offer. And to be blunt, I think everybody is really very impressed with the freshness and approachability that Hayes McIntyre have brought to us and to the thing. And certainly colleagues on the audit committee who've met with them quite a lot are singing their praises. I also want to thank all member network treasurers, because they've had a lot of work to do to move us across to Unity Bank. Altogether, we've got 69 bank accounts. But the move to Unity Bank, okay, it's made a lot of work, but led to reduced charges. It's led to increased interest, because all of the accounts that they hold are aggregated together. We get interest on the lot. And also, our member network treasurers don't have the onerous job of finding an auditor, because Bossy, our head of resources, can do it in-house. So, you know, and she, of course, is subject to audit by Hayes McIntyre. So it's a triple win, and it's really, really very, very positive news, that one. That's the background. So talk about member subscriptions for 2006. 2016 subscriptions, two blocks. Do you want me to finish at that point and receive the annual report?
Yes, we should.
Okay, I'll finish at that point before we go on to subscriptions, and we'll...
So please bide your time on subscriptions. But first of all, just like to invite questions from members on the annual report and accounts, if anybody has any that they'd like to raise. Yep. Again, if you could give your name, please.
Charles Oppenheim. I'm interested to see the figures of membership numbers for 2013 and 2014, but it would be more interesting to know what the trend is, say, over a 10-year period. Is there any possibility that these might be published so we can see what the long-term trend of membership numbers is?
Sorry, Nick, do you want to respond to that? Because I think we put them in some papers recently, didn't we?
I'm not sure which paper you mean, but yes, the 10-year trend is available. We are, in general, trying to move away from this model of looking backwards at how many members we used to have and to look ahead to the model of how many we're going to have. And as part of that approach, to think less about the overall line of membership numbers and to think more about our representation within different parts of this community, within different parts of our sector. And so one of the aims of our forward planning here is to take a much more understanding what our representation is across different parts of our sector and how we're going to improve that representation, how we're going to expand that membership. So while on the one hand it might be useful as a matter of interest to look at the historical attrition, I'm much more interested in the forward planning structured targets about how we can grow our representation in specific groups.
Are there any other questions or queries? Okay, thanks for that. There's, this is not something we vote on because, according to the bylaws, the annual general meeting receives and considers the 2014 accounts, but they have already been signed by the auditors. So thank you for that. And now we move on to the subscription rates, and I want to speak about that. There'll then be an opportunity for questions on the subscription rates before we take the formal proposal and vote on them. So, Mike.
Thank you. Yes, I've divided the subscriptions slides into three sections. First of all, a slide on organisational subscriptions, which, I mean, everybody should have because it was published in Update and all of the detail is in there for organisational subscriptions. The team here has done quite a lot of work looking at what benefit organisations get from being in membership of Cilip, and to be blunt, it wasn't a lot. And the whole basis has been how we can turn that around, and there's been some significant consultation carried out with some of the organisations who are in membership about what sort of offers they would want to see. So we're in the middle and beginning to launch a new range of services and benefits enjoyed by organisational members. And in terms of making the link between organisational membership and individual membership, what we're saying to organisational memberships is that if they're in membership, their professionals, etc., would also get a 5% discount on their individual membership. So to link those two things closely together to encourage increased organisational membership, and clearly also encourage organisations to be much more active in CPD and all of those things that are so necessary if we're going to move things forward. So that's the proposals, that's the rationale behind organisational subscriptions, and the detail and the new bands are set out in Update. If I move to individual subscriptions, as we've rehearsed several times this evening, there's a need to provide some financial leeway and need some scope to deliver. So having stable, and we all pay tribute to Annie working with the senior management team and working with the board in all of the work that was done to put Cilip's finances on a stable footing. After many years of not being on a stable footing, we've now begun to move much more strongly forward to strongly advocate and to help and put in place this new strategic plan. So the rationale behind individual subscriptions is that we recognise the need for ongoing investment services. Also, as we've already reported, recognise that we need to recognise that our costs have gone up by over 3% this year. Clearly, and I worked in the public sector for many, many, many years, I entirely understand, and the board entirely understands, that some members have had no pay increase. So therefore, we are getting modest increases, which will impact on, depending on earnings, of between £1 and £5 for members, being a 2% increase. What I also will do, and this will be Nick, as I think, has already referred to this in his speech, as part of the strategic, we will look very hard at how we can bring about a fundamental change in the whole subscription package, because it's quite clearly not right. It's, you wouldn't start from here. We've got there, and I've sat out there many a time and think, oh dear, poor old treasurer, trying to tinker and change and whatever, what is not really a feasible pattern. We do need to get to somewhere new, or I use the word there, pledge, to actually work through that as quickly and as fastly as we can, so that we have, you know, on one hand, adequate finance to go forward, B, the cost of members is very much more limited to the member offer. And then finally, just a couple of reminders, because having talked to a number of people, people are missing out. Don't forget to claim tax relief on your subscription. Whether you pay, you know, whatever rate of tax you pay, don't forget to claim it. You are entitled to it. A plea from us, but also something that will help you, is please pay by direct debit. Urge all members to do this because it reduces our banking costs, and that makes Bossy very happy. But it also spreads the cost to you of the subscription over 10 months at no increased cost. It's not one of these, like an insurance company, where you pay by 10 months and it costs you another 20 quid. There's no increase in cost. It's just aggregated out over those 10 months. And last year, my final point, yes, Chair, there's no increase in cost. It's straight.
No, I was saying, did you not prefer the money up front?
No.
Apparently no.
No, it's fine. We can cope with that in cash flow. We can cope with that in cash flow. And finally, there was a question from the floor last year in terms of career breaks. We actually did quite a bit of research and came back to the point that because our subscriptions are very strongly salary-based, we can, if people know at the beginning of the year, we can accommodate that. And indeed, and I'm assured on this, if you pay by direct and your circumstances change during the year, we can accommodate it within the year. So our subscriptions schedule is flexible enough to accommodate a career break, and our membership team has discussed this and looked at the ways that can be done. So in response to that, we don't need to introduce anything more complex in our subscriptions, which are already complex enough. They are flexible enough to accommodate career breaks. Thank you for that. That's all I want to say. Clearly, over now to your comments and questions before we move to the vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Comments, queries on the proposed membership subscription rates for 2016? There's three. Somebody at the back, then Dawn on the right, and Ian, is it? Yeah, then Ian. So if we do it in that order, please. If you can give your name first, and then your comment.
Alice Tyler, why does the Treasurer assume that all retired members have a pension greater than 39 to qualify for the £39 rate? In other words, surely the subscription category of retired members is entirely redundant if subscriptions are based on salary or income.
I think you make a very solid point there, and it's what I was saying in terms of reviewing the range and the bands for subscriptions. Clearly that is another anomaly which was introduced many years ago. We need to look at that.
Dawn was next. No, please, you need one for the webcast.
It won't carry over the internet.
Hi there, I'm Dawn Finch. I'm Vice President of Cilip at the moment. However, that has meant that I went from an extremely low income as a school librarian to a zero income because of all the voluntary work I do for this. The one thing that I've never given up in all this time is my Cilip membership. It has meant a lot to me because I've used the member services right throughout. For my career, for my support, I have used the member services. Now, I know that when we look at the percentage figure, it seems like a lot, but £1 isn't going to kill me, and I still need Cilip. Now, I know that people think that I'm saying that because I have my vice president hat on, but I'm actually saying that as an impoverished school librarian who needed the support network and needed Cilip behind me. So I will be voting for it.
Thank you. Ian.
Hi, I mean, just a couple of points here. First is that band 17,500 to 42,000. That's a massive band.
Absolutely.
There's pretty much every public librarian's going to be in that band, apart from chief librarians. You may want to look at cutting down that band a bit so that you know people aren't in that band for their entire professional careers. Secondly, for me, I mean, I've had a pay cut over the last 5 years. In real terms, my pay has gone down 5%. So for 2 pay increases in membership is actually quite a big thing for me, and £200 a year is actually quite a lot of money. So Cilip needs to justify of everything we do what value for money we get from that, because otherwise you can have less and less people being in part of the organisation. Thank you.
Absolutely agree with that, and I mean we have had discussions on this already. That 17,000 to 40 is a very broad band that picks up a huge number of people, and the early information coming from the workforce survey is that the majority of people in that band are actually at the bottom end of it as well. So yes, absolutely, again, back to pledge to address that and to look at that. I don't know what shape of model bring, you know, looking to Nick and the senior management to do quite a lot of work on that and bring that forward, but absolutely pledge that's something we've got to look at. It's, you know, rock and hard place. We need the money, but so yeah, thank you.
Okay. Can I ask, are there any other further comments or queries? There's one.
Winnetfield, just the question about parity. Obviously, if someone's in an organisation and they're getting a 5% discount, whereas somebody else is in a very small organisation that chooses not to join Cilip, but they have to pay the full whack. Just thinking about parity, large organisations versus small organisations.
Well, yes, except for, I mean, if you look at the organisational bands, the rates for small organisations are quite small, as opposed to the rates are quite high. So, but it comes back to, yeah, there will be an ongoing debate and discussion on this, but we do really want to encourage organisations to join Cilip and to address this, you know.
I realise I'm being really cheeky here, but there are organisations that only have 2 librarians. Why would they join Cilip?
We'll look at that in terms of how this beds down and begins. I mean, it's very early days.
Thank you. There's a question here.
Speaking as a retired member, when I retired, I bought life membership, which I know no longer exists, and I think by now probably I would no longer be a member. And I know many of my friends no longer belong. Some of them have joined the retired members, which they can do without being members of Cilip. And I just wondered if there's any thought at all of thinking of retired people, trying to keep them within the organisation, of offering them some
There's been some very active discussions, and I've not taken part in it, with the Retired Members Guild. And both us and the Retired Members Guild are very keen to look at how their expertise and time, etc., can be utilised much more actively in things such as mentoring, etc. Sorry, I don't know, Simon, do you want to comment, or Jill, do you want to comment any further, please? Thank you.
So yeah, I'm Simon Edwards, Director of Professional Services. Yes, Mike's absolutely right. We've just completed a large-scale consultation with all retired members and members that are approaching retirement, however you want to define that. And we had over 730 responses to that consultation. We're just starting to analyse the data now, but we're working very closely with the Retired Members Guild to ensure that the services that we provide are fit for purpose for the future, and to ensure that there is that value for retired members in the future. And some of that consultation looks into the reasons why people choose to stay, or will hopefully provide us with some really useful data.
And you get both sides of the coin. You get some retired members who join the Retired Members Guild, but equally half stay on as members of Cilip but don't join the retirement. So we need to look at that, really.
Thanks, Simon. Any further questions? John.
Hello, John Trevor Allen. I just want to say, I think as a new member of the board, I think that this pledge to review is a good one. I think the 17 to 42 band, personally, I think is too broad, and I'm saying that as someone at the bottom end of it nearly. But I think the proposed 2% increase, although when you think about it in terms of what the total sum is, can be a little daunting. The actual increase that we're looking at is £1 to £4 a year, and that's less than the cost of one cup of coffee, or if you get jumped by the pirates at Victoria Station, a cup of coffee. And I think when you think about it like that, it's not quite so terrifying. And that's just a point I wanted to make.
Thank you. Any points before we move this to a vote? Okay, thanks very much. I'd like to formally propose Resolution 3, that the rates of the Cilip subscriptions for 2016, as proposed by the Honorary Treasurer, be approved. Can we first take a vote for all those in favour? Okay, thank you very much. Next. Thank you. Any abstentions? Thank you very much. That the votes are for the motion 105, against 33, and 5 abstentions. So the motion is carried. Thank you. Lost my bit of paper. Right. We now have a resolution which is put to the AGM by Andy Richardson and seconded, sorry, it's late and I can't read, obviously, seconded by Anna Bernhoff, and I'd like to invite Andy to propose the resolution. Andy. I don't have a copy of the resolution. It's in the
Thank you. I'll just read the resolution as it stands. That Cilip actively opposed those public authorities and senior library staff over the amateurisation of public library service by offering library buildings and contents to be run by the local community with little or no funding for professional or paid staff. Library staff. This is resulting in public libraries being run by volunteer staff and taking away work currently done by paid professional and library assistant staff. All current public library service points manned by paid local authority library staff should be the current library baseline, and where such actions are suggested by the local authority and senior library staff, Cilip should support the opposition of such proposals and say so publicly. Proposed by me and seconded by Anna, who will speak in a second. I must admit I was a bit surprised that we were the only resolution on the table, so it was a bit of a shock to be the only one up here and proposing something to everybody. And I must admit it was a bit of a Jeremy Corbyn sort of last-minute resolution. So some of the wording may be a bit long-winded and not very well, but I hope you will see that it is well meant, and we can talk over the wording possibly throughout the debate. This all came about when recently, where I live in Orpington, Bromley Libraries have gone through such a review, and 6 of their libraries have been offered up for community running, and a lot of the library staff were on strike about it, and I've been talking to them through their Facebook page, and I asked them if they'd had any contact with anybody from our professional body talking about the service that we're which is going through such a massive change, and the answer was no, which I thought was really sort of appalling, really, because I just felt that they talked to the unions, but and shop stewards, but there was no sort of conversation direct. So I started the motion, and I really picked quite an emotive word, which is amateurisation. Meant to be emotive because I felt I was strongly against what's going on here, and I felt that if I put something in a resolution like this, it would get a lot of people looking and talking about it, and from seeing what's going on in Twitter and things, I think that's happening. I mean, I've worked with volunteers myself, principally to do projects that needed to be done, but the rest of the team couldn't do, and it would be something nice to do, and people volunteered and got something out of it, and it added to the service. But I'd never use, when I was working, volunteers to run my full library service. I think the word community run is now being seen as pretty much a money saving tactic by councils. It's looking to get the most expensive outlay in the service, i.e. your staffing, cut and get to run the service. In May this year, the comment in Cilip Update on media watching made this sort of tongue-in-cheek sort of statement. It said, new YouGov research has found that the 3 most desired jobs in the UK are author, librarian and academic, all in that order. According to the poll, 54% of respondents said they would happily swap jobs to take up a position in a library. Fortunately, the government is working hard with local authorities up and down the country to make that dream come true for as many people as possible. The plan is to increase the nation's overall happiness by having the least at least half the population working as a volunteer in their local library by the end of 2017. I say many a true word is said in jest, and this is already within our own professional journal. I feel that people who run a library should be paid, and if councils get it, doesn't stop there. Other institutions will take the same path. Public librarians built and manage the public library service that we have got today, not local government councillors. According to an Arts Council survey in 2013, there were 425 community managed libraries. That's 12% of public libraries, and the trend is growing. And the government reduction of funds to local authorities, this will continue, and it will come to a library authority close to you. I did say here Cilip membership is reducing in numbers, but I take Nick's point. Councils going the volunteer route will not insist on professionally trained librarians. Bromley actually feel that having a volunteer staff with a range of skills will be beneficial to the community. I was trained in library school. I'm one of those strange old librarians who education, not a degree qualification. And in my day, we were taught about professional librarianship being around 5 basic principles set out by a guy called Ranganathan. I don't know if they still teach that these days. In my eyes, principle number 3 stands the test of time. And it's the 4th law, which is to save the time of the reader. And to quote Richard E. Rubin in Foundations of Library and Information Science, 2nd edition, I haven't got the ISBN here. This law is a recognition that the part of the excellence of a library service is its ability to meet the needs of the library user efficiently. To this end, Dr. Ranganathan recommended the use of appropriate business methods. He observed that centralising the library collection in one location provide distinct advantages. He also noted that excellent library staff would not only include those who possess strong reference skills, but also strong technical skills in cataloguing, ordering and accessioning, and all those backroom things that I never quite understood. But so it means the collection of books and information is in one place. The library building needs staff to reference it, organise it, help utilise it so it's fully for its readership. That holds true for a small branch library as it does for a university library. All people in all walks of life deserve our expertise. Public librarian membership used to be the largest in the LA membership group on the library board in the late 1990s, and it will decrease. It's now the 2nd largest group, and it will decrease unless we fight back against library reduction and library cuts, because we just won't have the staff. If we vote against voicing and acting against creeping amateurisation, then I think we're a little bit like turkeys voting for Christmas. We owe it to our younger professionals and those wishing to become professionals to make sure that the library service pays people to provide that service. I took early retirement in March, and I've worked in academic, public, library book selling, library databases, and the NHS library sector, and I've had 35 years of expertise and training under my belt. So if you want me to run your library, you'll have to pay me. Personally, if I worked in a community as a volunteer, I would see that as denying a younger fellow professional or full-time library worker a living. And I've had a good life out of it, and I'm sure that a lot of us will get it in the future. But the present state is making that very hard for younger people. This motion should be passed, and I'd like Cilip Board to confront, voice opinion in defence of the profession in the public library service, and I have seen Nick's presentation to everybody that he's been coming around, and I see that starting, but I feel that everybody should be really pushing to save the public library service of this country. I would happily be involved in campaigning on behalf of Cilip members to maintain this National Library Service. I would not see it as volunteering. I would see this as my professional duty, and I would call upon you to do the same. Thank you very much. I know Anna's got a couple of things to say as well. Yeah.
Hi everyone, I'm Anna Brynolf, the unpronounceable surname. I live in Bromley. I live in Bromley town. I've been there about 4 years. I'm an avid user of our public library, aware of the campaign to save Bromley libraries. And that is how I got into contact with Andy about seconding this motion. In Bromley, the council have made these proposals for what to do with the public library service, and they don't seem to know what a library is, what a library does. They think that a library service can be outsourced, they think it can be privatised, they think it can be run on a tiny, tiny budget or run by volunteers and not paid or trained professional staff. The council did do a public consultation where residents of Bromley were able to vote for various proposals, but none of the proposals were keep the public library service being run by paid professional staff. You could choose from options to privatise, to outsource, to close libraries, but not to keep them as they are. And I made good use of that. I wrote an essay about why we should keep staff, and I hope that everybody else who filled in the consultation did the same thing. Because this consultation was very biased, then the unions fighting against the proposed cuts in Bromley also ran their own consultation, which showed that the residents of Bromley are very much in favour of the public library service staying as it is. And we're seeing the same thing happen all over the country. We know that people are fighting back. There's a lot of campaigns against library closures, against privatisation, against these proposals to replace trained and paid staff with volunteers, entirely volunteers, because a library that's run by volunteers is not a better alternative than no library at all. People are devoting a lot of time and energy to these campaigns, but we also need the backing and the support of our professional organisation. Cilip needs to categorically take a stand against any proposals to privatise or outsource public libraries and to replace trained and paid staff with volunteers. I was just looking before at the libraries that were nominated for the award Libraries Change Lives. And it's worrying that if the trend continues, if libraries are outsourced, if they're privatised, if their budgets are cut, if they're run entirely by volunteers, then we'll lose our library service and these kind of projects won't be able to happen. And that is a scary future. So I do hope that everybody backs this, Cilip, take it forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Andy and Anna. As members may know, the board considered and discussed the resolution. It supports the resolution and has recommended that members do vote in favour. But I'd also like to now open the motion to the floor for any points or issues anybody would like to raise. Can I remind you, to be fair, if we limit any individual contributions to about 3 minutes. This lady here.
This is just to say that I think that this resolution, although it's about public libraries, can be considered to be about professionalism of libraries. I'm personally in the corporate sector, and for the 20 years that I've worked in the corporate sector of libraries, we have constantly been fighting against the loss of jobs, not to volunteers necessarily, but to being pushed into other departments. It is a constant battle, and I think that if there is it's not going to be helped if there is public perception that the role of the public librarian is something that can be done by people who aren't professionally qualified.
Thank you. Can I remind everybody to give their name first when they...
Sorry, I'm Catherine Shopflin.
Thank you.
I'm Sue Williamson. I'm Head of Library Services for St Helens. I just wanted to say that I think it's a real shame if this degenerates into some kind of conflict between library staff and senior library managers, because I think everybody needs to realise senior library managers have their hands completely tied because of the financial situation that councils find themselves in at the moment, and that we have very little opportunity, having placed our arguments, to resist changes that are going to be forced upon us. And I think, therefore, it needs to be taken that all of us, none of us, want to see this happening. And it upsets and exasperates us greatly that there is a lack of understanding of what it means to be a professional member of library staff and what it takes to run a library. There is a feeling out on the ground that people think that any monkey can run a library. And therefore, I call upon the organisation, because I think it needs to come from here, to talk to central government about what will happen to our society if we lose our public libraries. A couple of weeks ago, I retweeted something on Twitter which talked about somewhere in sub-Saharan Africa, I'm sorry, I can't remember where it was, that was where people were desperately trying to raise money to build a library service. There, they understand the value of what a library is. Here, we are trying to throw them out the window and flush them down the toilet. And in 10 years' time, when we don't have them anymore, as somebody quite rightly said, there won't be any projects like Our Libraries Change Lives. There won't be any extra activities because there won't be any capacity to do it.
Are there any other questions?
David last.
Sorry, there's somebody who's just before you. And then we'll come to you.
Steve Cook. I'm a librarian at the Royal College of Obstetricians and this is something that's pained me for a long time. Is when I was first elected to council, I was advised by the late Bob McKee that it was our job to protect standards within the profession. So that's got to be the first aim. The second aim, we would do that by keeping the professional staff. Unfortunately, some staff do lose their jobs, but I would like to ask what Cilip is doing to support those staff, if they're advocating a union, if they're offering a legal advice line, which being a union rep myself, I have used quite a lot at my building where I work, so not just in libraries. And a legal line can help in negotiations regarding redundancy and settlement agreements. So I just wondered if Cilip was offering anything.
I'll field that one if I may. Hi, it's Nick here. There's a range of things that we are able to do to support members who are going through that process. There is an advice line that's available as a member benefit. We have a member services team who are able to talk to people in their situation. We're not a union, but we are able to do a range of things to help. One of the things that we do is start to talk about those skills that people have and to help people understand how to make those skills transferable, how to shout about the value of them. So one of the things I'm proud of that Cilip's produced over the last year is the impact toolkit, and we really need to be able to say, this is the skills that I'm bringing to this job, this is the impact of those skills, and we can help people use that toolkit, we can help people build their skills, and we do have advisory services in place. It's very hard for us to help people that aren't our members unless, you mean in general advocacy terms, but directly we just don't have the capacity to support absolutely everyone.
Thank you.
David Lasser. I'm Secretary of the Academic Research Library Group, London South East Committee. I'd like to quote an example from my own Wandsworth Council where I live, and they were under severe pressure to cut administrative costs. So what they did, they outsourced the running to a non-for-profit company called Greenwich Leisure Services, which some of you may have heard of, and they took public consultations and surveys by the residents, and the GLL guaranteed to keep the same number of professional staff and the same hours of opening, which they did because I use my local Battersea Public Library regularly. No change in staff, no change in the hours of opening. So the council has saved on their admin costs by outsourcing to GLL, and I think this might be a solution for those councils which are under financial pressure, if they might consider outsourcing but with no loss of staff numbers, keeping exactly the same professional staff and hours of opening. This might be a possible solution to certain council cuts in their expenditure.
May I just briefly come back to you, David, on that? One of the things we've committed to do is to publish a position paper by the end of the year, which sets out Cilip's position on the service delivered as part of the work we had been planning in any case. We have been working with a member of the team on the Leadership for Libraries Task Force who is modelling different approaches. So we're trying to create a collection of the ways in which people are solving these problems. So it would be very useful to feed the GLL example into that set of options that we're looking at. So thank you.
Okay. There's a comment at the back.
Yeah, I'm Gillian Harris. I'm Tower Hamlets Schools Library Service. While I thoroughly support the sentiments of this resolution, I just want to support the comments by the St Helens Senior Manager, because I always use senior library staff when hopefully they are Cilip members themselves. So I wonder whether the wording could be changed slightly to say Cilip working with senior library staff to oppose the local authorities, you suggest, or something in that order, because I feel that Cilip needs to work with its members on this resolution.
We have no. I put senior management staff because I think it, particularly in Bromley, the library staff themselves were getting the feedback from senior management saying you just can't do anything, we just can't do anything, and they were towing they've seen by the rest of the staff to be towing the line of a very aggressive Tory council. So I can see the point, and I say I totally take the point about all senior management staff are not are putting these up, the proposals up because they agree with them. No, but in certain cases, I think they may lay down and die a little bit. So just ask for what I'm asking Cilip to do is when something's been proposed, you talk to the council and you talk to the senior management, and if we feel that the senior management are not giving the support, just tell them. But as I say, that's why I put that in the proposal, because there was a feeling within the staffing that I was talking to that senior management weren't really pushing themselves very much against it.
I'm going to intervene. I have to apologise to everybody in that I have to leave shortly. If I don't get the 10:15 ferry to the Isle of Wight, I will be with the trucks a bit later. But I entirely support the sentiments of the motion, and therefore, as along with all of the board members, voted for it. Clearly, there is a lot of work to do to actually develop a strategy for effective intervention. And I think that that's something that the Cilip board and clearly the Cilip membership take on board. Thank you very much.
Thank you. There's a comment at the back.
Hi, Liz Jolly, Chair of Scone, librarian at Teesside University. I really support this motion. Can I just ask, though, that in a female-dominated profession, that we make sure that our language reflects the diversity of our profession and that we talk about staffing rather than manning? It's 21st century. I appreciate that it was done in a hurry, but I couldn't actually vote for something.
Yeah, we can take that out. That's quite... We saw that later as well.
Okay. And as I
I'm a
say,
60-year-old bloke. That's probably my problem. Okay.
That's
Anna
nice.
saw it, but we was too late.
I'm really pleased that this motion has come to the AGM, and that doesn't detract from what I think is a fantastic motion that we're debating here.
Right, John Dolan.
Thank you, Chair. John Dolan, former head of Birmingham Libraries, former head of St Helens Libraries, and very familiar with the scenarios that we're rehearsing this evening. It's an appalling state of affairs. It's a disgrace nationally, and so on. Cilip has been an active member of the Speak Up for Libraries campaign for a number of years now, and has facilitated a lot of, not everything, but a lot of what the campaign has done. And it illustrates, given where we are today, how really difficult it is for the campaigners, whether it's Cilip, whether it's Voices for Library and so on, all those friends, to effect change or stop the kind of change that we're talking about to happen. In that campaigning family, I think it's important that tonight's resolution, supported, I hope, by everybody, nonetheless enables Cilip to identify its particular role in this scenario. I'm not going to try and go into that, but certainly we've talked about it at the board. There is a need to to identify a particular role for Cilip that will complement and underpin and support what other campaigners do. And as Nick touched on earlier, Cilip's not a union, for example, but it can work with the appropriate trade unions. It's about professional credibility, and whatever level a person works at in a public library organisation, Cilip ought to be able to support them. And that reflects the thinking about the membership subscriptions earlier. We want a model for subscriptions that invites many, many people into the organisation, so that our capacity, the justification for our claims is even greater. So it does reflect back to that. And I think in the next few weeks, if not even hours, we'll be talking about how Cilip can play an effective role in this area. But clearly there is a trend going on that we've got to make every possible attempt to halt and reverse. You might have read a snippet in a Cilip update a couple of years ago I wrote about libraries. When I went to the German Libraries Conference and interviewed various people there, I talked to Switzerland, where they'd invented volunteer libraries in a cash-strapped society after the war. And by the 1990s, they were realising that this library business is all very well volunteers doing it, but actually we need a lot of skills and we want training, and it's time we were paid, and we need more support and we need leadership. And so they were actually coming at it from the very opposite direction to what's happening in England, in particular, in the UK generally and elsewhere. So volunteering, outsourcing, these are not all the same thing. Volunteer run, community run, outsourced. GLL is headed by a librarian, a qualified librarian who used to be active in rooms like this one. These are not the same thing, and we need to find where to pitch our tent and what exactly to say that will affect the kind of change that we would aspire to. Thank you.
I think we've got time for one more comment, if there is one. If not, I think perhaps just to follow on what John said, it's been commented that Nick making quite a few more comments, and hopefully that visibility has been obvious to all. But I thought I'd just run through a few things which we're looking at, which we're doing, and looking at planning doing. So we are taking, I think, a more vocable, more visible position in the mix with Birmingham and behind the scenes. So, for example, St Bride's Library. We will be publishing a white paper setting out, as Nick said, its vision of the role of professional skills and qualifications in delivering quality library services. We do support Speak Up for Libraries, in particular the conference, and Nick is a speaker there. Speak Up for Libraries parliamentary lobby. We are engaging directly with ministers and their teams on both sides of the House, and we are representing skills and qualifications within the Leadership for Libraries task force. And one thing we're planning to do is to secure a pro bono QC to provide a legal ruling on the definition in England and Wales of comprehensive and efficient, because you'll be aware that's one of the big issues that has been under discussion during any legal action by things. So Cilip is doing a range of activities now, as planned, as Nick said. So in that context, what I'd like to do now is take the motion to a vote. Now, because there's been two amendments suggested, we will have to do this in two stages. So the first vote will be on whether the amendments that have been proposed. And those, as I understand it, and please correct me, because I was trying to listen and make the notes at the same time, in line 1, insert work with between public authorities and senior library staff. That now reads that Cilip actively oppose those public authorities and work with senior library staff. Is that correct? That was just one suggestion?
Yep.
And that in line 2, 3, 4, 5, in line 6, it's library service points staffed by paid local authority library staff. After that. So I'm sorry, but this does mean we need to go through the full voting process twice. So we have to vote on the amendments.
We need to vote on whether we can accept them. We've had the advice.
Yes. Okay, so those in favour of amending the resolution in that way? Okay. Those against? I didn't expect to see a forest of hands. Are there any abstentions? There is. Yes. There was a, yeah. Okay. Right. The result of the vote is for 138, against 0, and abstentions, including the proxies. So that means that the amendments have been agreed. So now we vote on the amended motion. So all in favour? Okay. Those against? And any abstentions? Thanks, John. Right. Thank you. The result of the vote on the amended resolution is for 130, against 7, and no abstentions. So the motion is carried.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Right. Yes, the next item on the agenda is any other business, and I'd like to ask if anybody has any other business.
David Lass again. I was in correspondence with last August about the question of the obligatory revalidation policy, and she said there should be a ballot sometime this autumn. So I wonder if you could clarify further details. Will this ballot be both postal and online, and will it take place before the end of the year? And related to that, will it need a 2/3 majority to be valid and pass? And if that takes place, will it come into force sometime during 2016?
If I may answer that.
Please do.
There will be a full ballot with the election for board members and the vice president. So the voting opens on November the 2nd and ends on December the 1st or 2nd.
Online?
That's online and postal if we don't have an email address. So it is a full ballot. And it's an advisory ballot. There is no requirement in our constitution for this to be voted for by the members. So it will be advisory to the Cilip board, who obviously will take full account of whatever the result of the vote is.
Okay. Is there any other business? Sorry.
Forgive me, there may be a good reason for this, but as I'm probably closer to death than I was the year of my birth, do we no longer remember those members who have died in the past year?
They're in the pack.
We used to stand in their memory.
We haven't done that.
So that hasn't been carried out for several years.
I believe it was in Bristol, but I'm open to correction.
That was to mark those killed in the First World War. It was a particular occasion then. It was, I remember that. So, is there any other? Okay. The final item of business then is the date of the next annual general meeting. This date will be agreed by council and members notified in the usual way in accordance with our bylaws. So that concludes the business meeting. Can I, on your behalf, for organising the meeting tonight, and particularly the tellers who have worked assiduously and hard to bring all our votes together. So, as I say, I'd like to thank all the Cilip staff for their for the arrangements for this evening, and the tellers, and perhaps we could give them a round of applause as well. That concludes the business of the meeting, so thank you all for coming, and safe home.
Thank you for joining us at the Cilip Annual evening. We hope you enjoyed this live video stream and encourage you to share your reflections on the issues raised during the meeting using the hashtag CilipAGM15. A video of this meeting will be available shortly. Please follow @CilipInfo for further details. Thank you once again for joining us live at the Cilip AGM.